Our next presenter is an associate professor of art history and visual arts at Occidental College and a Howard Foundation fellow at Brown University. She is an acclaimed scholar of contemporary indigenous arts. Dr. Nancy Marie Mithlo explores the intersections of race and representation in the visual arts, popular culture, and museum studies. And tonight, we're going to see if she can help us think twice about images that matter.
How do we know what we know? Specifically, how do we know what we know about race in the United States in the year 2017? This question is essential for us to collectively investigate, especially in an era where it seems like divisiveness and separatism are being rewarded. Is it possible for us to collectively consider what it means to be a human being? Not simply a human being that has the same physical or emotional needs, but a human being who is more like us than different from us. Science tells us that race is not real, that our skin pigmentation, the way we present physically, has no inherent meaning other than the values that human beings place upon those physical differences. Yet it's just not that easy. We all know that while race may not be real, racism exists. We all know that in the United States of America, groups of people are systematically oppressed due to their race, not only to institutions like slavery and discrimination, but through policies of genocide on American soil against its indigenous inhabitants. Now, I'm a cultural anthropologist. My research deals with the currency of visual images, photography, art, and museums. I care deeply about social inequities. My work asks, how is it in a country that holds to democratic principles, there's so much hate and intolerance? How is it in a country that has more resources, that exercises more power than other nations, that we haven't gotten rid of this thing known as racism? It's a big question. I teamed up with a colleague at Occidental College, a cognitive scientist named Alexander Sherman. Together, we developed an exercise at the Autry Museum of the American West, where I served as chair of American Indian Studies. See, I am an American Indian, and this business of race and genocide has real meaning in my life. I care about it. Together with my co-researcher, Sasha, we developed an exercise at the Autry Museum where we exhibited photographs of American Indians, and we asked visitors to respond to those photographs while they wore basically a Fitbit, measuring their heat, their perspiration, and their heart rate. We designed this study using cognitive science principles of controls. One was a pure control. We gave no instructions to our audience at all. The second set of trials, we were interested in perspective taking. We wanted to know what the people who were observing the photographs thought about the subjects. We asked them to think about the day in their life. Were they hot or cold? What was their relationship like with the photographer? Finally, in the third set of controls, we're interested in stereotypes, what I prefer to call conventional narratives. Often these attitudes reveal racist connotations. In this set of trials, we asked the visitor, now we know that there are damaging stereotypes about American Indians, but we don't want you to think about those as you look at these images. Now, according to a classic study by social psychologist Claude Steele dealing with stereotype threat, when you ask someone to not think about damaging stereotypes, they think about them. It's similar to asking a group of girls to do math problems or prompting girls don't do well at math. We all know they're going to score lower. So what did we find out with our research? Well, what was surprising to me was that in the perspective-taking trials, where we anticipated that viewers would have a more emotional salience with the subjects in the photographs, that's where they used words like beautiful and princess. They were engaging in a form of cultural fantasy. Or alternately, they thought about the women depicted as leading a hard life. They wondered where they might get their next meal. Now, while the more positive descriptives may seem okay in a society where sexual violence against Native women is epidemic, the idea of the beautiful Native squaw is highly problematic. Here's a study that wants for people to think beyond self and others in a way that they can get beyond racism, that they can embrace our common humanity. And yet we found out that, according to our study, it seems as though they're just engaging in the same kind of stories they already know in their head, which in this case is Native people are not us, they're other. Now, I'm not asking for people to understand the whole totality of American Indian history or to be able to understand the social world of any person you encounter that may be other. What I am asking is that you forestall making any conclusions at all. Embrace the fact that you do not know what your co-human being may be thinking or feeling at all. And because of that lack of understanding, you need to approach this relationship with the other as being a place of creative exploration and discovery. So ask questions, be curious, and you may find more about yourself as well as others. Thank you.